Well, this is kind of like a different scenario for the Gratitude Journal podcast as we embark on episode 100. I am on, oh, this is what my phone is telling me, Camino Los Abuelos, which I am guessing is the street of the grandparents. And I am in New Mexico on a little 4-day vacation, five if you count all the horrendous travel escapades that we've kind of endured so far. But I want to start out by saying how grateful I am to be walking on this road and just gazing at this topography that is only available in the southwest of the United States. And it is unlike any other topography. And that's what makes this so special. So I'm in a pretty desolate area, as you probably heard that car roll by. And we had planned to go to the International Balloon Fiesta in Albuquerque, kind of a bucket list that I have planned for Donna. I'm hoping she's okay with me planning out her bucket list. And but it didn't work out. We were planning on going this morning, but the weather is kind of overcast and rainy, and the balloons didn't lift off, so we opted not to go over this morning. So while that's very disappointing, I'm still grateful for the fact that we've had a couple of days to enjoy this great area of the country. So yeah, this is Matthew here, and taking you on a little different path on this recording. I'm using an iPhone and using voice memo recording to record it. I don't have the advantage of having all my little music and interludes and things like that. And sometimes I think that's good, as yet another car travels on this, I want to call it a desolate road, but it has a little bit of activity. We're actually in Airbnb, and we're sharing this with Donna's son and the woman that he's seeing. So it's the four of us in a two-bedroom, one-bath house that sits on a fairly desolate area, about 30 miles or so from Santa Fe. And it's been uh, really quite nice to have the advantage of doing a little bit of traveling, even amongst all of the COVID debacle. So today is episode 100. So, is it a thing to have a number attached to something? I don't know. I mean, some people, like Donna's son Preston, he's like really big on celebrating his birthday, and when you know, arrives at these sort of big magic numbers, he has a 3-day shindig and all that to mark it, and each to his or her own, however they mark those things. I guess I tend to not put so much stock in it, and especially when you are dealing with trying to uh, mark the, I guess, milestone of a podcast. 100, is that a big deal? Probably not. I mean, some podcasts reach that, in 6 months. This one has had kind of a spotty record lately of adding new episodes. But nonetheless, I am walking around outside, just you know, admiring the view. It's an overcast day. I'm not sure what the name of this mountain range is. I should know this by now. I've been here now for 4 days. But the clouds are kind of sinking low. It makes for great photography, and that was one of the reasons for me coming here, aside from trying to satisfy some bucket list things for Donna, was to capture some images and some visuals. And I think I was fairly successful in doing that, although I had a little bit of a minor mishap yesterday because I have a variable neutral density filter on the front of my lens. You photographers, photogs will know what I'm talking about. Somewhere along the line, it got removed from the front of the lens cap because I went to take a picture yesterday and everything was so bright because I'm dealing with a lens. It's a 2.8 lens, and that variable filter allows me to force out some of the light, so it will look nice and all that. And I noticed that it wasn't there, and then I kind of retraced my steps in this little town called Madrid, New Mexico, where coincidentally the movie Hogs was filled with John Travolta and William H. Macy. And I retraced my steps and found it. So a car had either run over it or someone had stepped on it, but it was clearly mangled beyond repair. And so the search will be on when I get back to find a new one. But other than that mishap, it's been a fairly nice trip from a visual perspective. So for that, I'm very, very grateful. I'm also very grateful that I have been able to share this with Donna, and I hope she feels the same way. I think too that I'm riding that line between, trying to make decisions for her and in her best interest and giving her all the freedom that she needs to, to express herself. And I think one of the things about this disease, it has kind of robbed her of her decision-making prowess. I mean, she was usually the person, excuse me, the person who knew beyond the shadow of a doubt what she wanted and what she needed, and she was really kind of like the ringleader, and that has kind of been yielded to me. And so I ride a careful balance. Sorry for that truck. I ride a careful balance between trying to figure out a way to make the best of our situation, to hopefully give her the things that she needs and wants, and at the same time offer her, the feeling that I'm not just an ogre and that she has autonomy. And I think on this little trip so far, I think I and we have been fairly successful. So for that, I'm very grateful. Uh, I do wish sometimes that the trips were a little easier from the standpoint of getting out of your comfort zone. It takes me personally a long time to relax. I'm not a very good relaxed person, and I don't really know how to shut off emails and that kind of thing. And I've dealt with a couple of work issues while I'm here, and it made me upset, that I gave over to that because I would immediately counsel someone else to, shut your phone off and turn your computer off and all that other stuff. And I have not been very good at that. So consequently, relaxation is sometimes kind of tough for me. And this has been a fairly arduous journey. I mentioned that at the start of this episode because we actually flew to Denver and then we all kind of rented a car and drove down to Santa Fe. And, it's a little longer drive than I had anticipated. And now we have to account for that time, to get back tomorrow, to make our flight home. And so I didn't really factor those things in. I was really trying to figure out the best way, to make this trip enjoyable and memorable for her. So, but I'm grateful for it regardless. One other thing that I sometimes neglect to mention or neglect to remind myself is that I think as we move into the next sort of era of this podcast and whatever dimension it takes on, I also need to make sure that I am grateful for maybe the things that have happened that I sometimes don't really mention a whole lot. um, I have some issues with my family, and there are some things that have sort of gone unsaid, and I have always yielded in both family and friends. I've always yielded, tried to yield on the path of just letting it go. Just forget it. I take my brother Mark's approach on some things, just whatever. And I am trying not to do that as much because I think that it robs me of just, um, it robs me of the potential to say what I feel and what I mean and to get things off my chest. And I'm going to be better at that this year and going forward. It may not always be easy. It's not easy to address things that you feel, and you may even be wrong about them. And but it just seems like the stone in the shoe from The Godfather Part Three has irked me over this past year, and I need to know who are my support systems and who are not my support systems. And I'm going to really pressure my family to be more involved as this moves forward. I realize one thing that my friend Mark Lee Shannon says to me: "What are you doing for you?" And I never really liked that before because I'm a caregiver, and the focus really shouldn't be on me. The focus, should be on her. And as I talk with other caregivers, you know, it's sometimes easy to dismiss yourself, and I've been fairly good at it. But I know I'm going to need help, and I need to know who is with me and who really is not going on this journey with me. And so I have made a vow to be a little better at trying to state my intention, to get things off my chest, to get the stone out of my shoe, and hopefully doing that without, I guess, without a whole lot of ego, or at least trying to diminish the ego so that it benefits not just me, but in the end, that it benefits Ghana. So I'm hoping that that's going to be something that I can address in audio and future video episodes of the Gratitude Journal podcast because I am grateful. I am grateful for my family and I am grateful for my friends. I do think, though, that something that Donna and I have both talked about over the past years, she's always been one of those persons who says, "Yeah, I haven't talked to that person in eons," and we always just pick up right where we left off, and that just really never made sense to me. Um, I feel like these relationships need to be nurtured, and I feel like if you don't invest time and energy in them, then they tend to go by the wayside. And I'm dealing with that with an issue with a family member who I know I have to have a sit down with this family member and address it and get it off my chest. Whether I'm right or wrong, that's another piece of discovery that needs to happen. But that's I feel like that's where I need to be. And I have a couple of friends that I need to address these same things with. And again, they may have a completely different outlook about it, but my outlook about it is just as important as their outlook about it. And I said to Mark Lee Shannon, I regard you as a friend, and he finished my sentence and said, you count on me. I mean, I'm gonna be around. I'm gonna be there if you need me, and that's what I need to know. I need to know that someone like him is checking in occasionally and finding out what's going on with us. And these things are important, and I think they're crucial. And I think I've been pushing the critical nature of these things into the background just so that I don't put the focus on me, and I don't necessarily want the focus on me, but I realize that for my own mental health and sanity and just wellness, that I need to put some of that focus on me. So those are my thoughts on this 100th episode of the Gratitude Journal podcast. I know it's not terribly exciting, but I look out over this terrain and I say to myself, um, it surely would be nice to live here. I love the American Southwest, and what I don't love about it are the prices. And it's so terribly expensive to be here and so terribly expensive to live here that there's the owner of this house. who owns the place we're staying and who just, I realize that it's not a part of our future. And I think coming to grips with what I want and getting over the, I guess, the ego part of it in favor of what's best, for her and for us. I think I need to come to better grips with that over the course of this next year. So it's a little bittersweet as I look over this and think we probably will not be living in this area because, of cost and finances and, you know, we have to bloom where we're planted. And right now we're planted in Akron, Ohio, and that's just where we're at. So, well, thank you for allowing me to do this very organic episode. And hopefully, I can figure out now a way to upload this and get this to you in case you want to listen to the 100th episode here in the northern part of New Mexico. And thank you for following along and downloading and being subscribers to this podcast. And again, apologies for not being a more regular uploader. And I mean, I hope to make that, a better thing and to be more improved. Who knows whether that's actually going to happen? So we are en route to Albuquerque today to take Preston's friend back to the airport. And we might drive where there are some things going on and around the Balloon Fest, even though the balloons won't be up today, it's pretty dreary. And we'll just be enjoying our time here. So thank you for downloading and for listening to this 100th episode of the Gratitude Journal podcast.